Hi again, everybody. Welcome to the Bricks and Bleachers podcast. All things Chicago Cubs in under 10 minutes. Cubs are 13 games over 500, 48 and 35 ahead of their 4th of July contest for the Tigers. Just a shade past the halfway point of this season. We'll offer some first half thoughts in just a moment and get you caught up on injuries as well. There have been plenty of injuries to overcome, but the Cubs are taking it in stride so far. Cubs find themselves one game behind Milwaukee for the National League Central lead. Two are tied in the loss column. Brewers have two more wins in their two extra games. Cubs had a roller coaster June, winning 8 of their first 9 games. Then late in the month, it was the other way, losing 6 of 7, including 5 in a row. 16 and 12 ended up being the Cubs' record for the month of June. Currently have a 5-game win streak as they prepare for the second of 2 against Detroit this afternoon. Tomorrow, an off day for the Cubs. Next Thursday is off as well. And then they've got 3 days off for the All-Star break, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then one more off day towards the end of July. So that's kind of setting up the month ahead for the Chicago Cubs. All-Star break is late this year, but you may recall Cubs were 43 and 45 at the break 1 year ago. They are way outpacing that, and it's been an interesting first half to this season. The official halfway point came after Saturday's game. Cubs are much improved hitting-wise. In fact, they're leading all of Major League Baseball with a .267 batting average heading into today's action. Compare that to 1 year ago when the team was averaging in the low 240s much of the first half of the year. I think it was even in the high 230s at one point. And then it settled, in the mid-250s, I believe, by the end of the season. Now, on-base percentage for the Cubs as a team, also best in the majors at .346. Now, I think the biggest shock that stands out is the Cubs being in the back of the pack home run-wise. Recall last year, the roster had 6 Cubs with 20 home runs over the span of the entire season. This year, only 4 Cubs are on pace for 20 home runs over the span of this year. Kris Bryant and Willson Contreras not currently among those 4. That, too, is also quite shocking. Let's look at the pitching so far in 2018. Jon Lester having a tremendous season, 2.25 ERA, 11 wins, including 5 in the month of June. He was the National League Pitcher of the Month and certainly well-deserving of that honor. Jose Quintana, second on the staff with 6 wins. However, none of those came in the month of June. His last win recorded on May 31st. He hopes to change that this afternoon. Kyle Hendricks is enduring what is easily the toughest year of his career. He is 5-8, ERA over 4.25. He's only lost 8 games in a season once before, and that was in 2016, a campaign where he went 16-8. Back end of the rotation, really a disappointment for the Cubs. Yu Darvish, the big offseason signing, has really struggled when he has appeared. I say that because he's been on the disabled list for quite some time now with triceps tendonitis. Only 8 starts, 40 innings for Darvish, 1-3 record. Tyler Chatwood, meanwhile, has struggled with control. He is way out in front of everyone else in terms of walks, talking about a major league high 66 walks in 73 innings. Had back-to-back starts in May where he was unable to make it out of the 3rd inning in each of those appearances. He's now gone 5 innings each of his last 3 times out, 12 earned runs over those 3 outings. Bullpen has been solid, among the best in the league, but individuals are going to have ups and downs over the span of 162 games, and we have seen that. But overall, the bullpen unit for the Cubs has been very solid here in 2018, a massive upgrade from last year and the last several years. Interestingly, neither Kris Bryant or Anthony Rizzo are among the top 5 in batting average for Cubs hitters. Bryant at .280. Rizzo has warmed to .250 after a slow start. Injuries have been quite numerous, yet the Cubs continue to press on. Kris Bryant eligible to return from the disabled list right now, but he is not activated for today's game. Shoulder inflammation still bothering him. Tomorrow, an off day, there's a chance Bryant could be activated and on the roster Friday, but it sounds like they are not in a hurry to rush him. I wouldn't be surprised if it might be Saturday or Sunday by the time he's activated. Injured originally more than a month ago, He was still hitting in the month of June, but I think he only had one home run in the month of June, if I'm not mistaken. Power definitely lacking for Kris Bryant. Yu Darvish, as mentioned, he struggled and he's on the DL, had a couple setbacks, and the process moving forward seems a little unclear. He's consulted a couple doctors. He's had some pain when he has had a couple throwing sessions here recently, so not sure exactly what they are going to do in terms of consultation or actual rehabilitation. Brian Dunsing with some pretty significant struggles in the month of June. He ended up on the disabled list on Sunday after giving up 2 more runs on Saturday. And that's been a trend, I believe, 15 runs over the last 7 outings for Dunsing. So you could pretty much count on him to give up a pair of runs each time he was checking into the ball game. Carl Edwards Jr. on rehab assignment with Iowa right now. He should be back with the Cubs shortly. Eddie Butler is on rehab assignment with Iowa too. On Edwards, he is making one more rehab appearance today with Iowa, and that should be the final step in getting Edwards back to join the club this weekend. Eddie Butler sidelined back in April, and it seemed like he disappeared because suddenly there were no real updates on his injury or his return, but that shifted recently when he moved from the 10-day disabled list to the 60-day disabled list. He has since been designated for rehab with Iowa. That happened a few days ago, and we'll keep an eye out for him. Don't believe there's a huge rush to get him back. Certainly Edwards is going to be the first one back, and then Butler hopefully later in the month of July, because they could certainly use some more depth. Brandon Morrow on the disabled list for a while. He returned last week, and he's performed well. Got a 4-out save a couple of days ago. One more roster move worth noting. That would be catcher Chris Gimenez. He's just been designated for assignment. Victor Caratini rejoining the Cubs, taking his place. In fact, he's in the lineup today at first base, giving Anthony Rizzo the day off, or at least the beginning of the day. Gimenez worked with Darvish earlier in their careers. Many thought Gimenez would be Darvish's personal catcher with Chicago. That was not the case even when both were on the roster at the same time. Cubs are on a roll. Bats have come alive over the past week. At one point, 4 straight games of 10 or more runs in each game. And looking at the last 7 games, Tuesday to Tuesday, Cubs are 6-1, 65 runs. That's an average of more than 9 runs a game. 5-3 winners yesterday over the Tigers. Today's pitching matchup pits Jose Quintana against Francisco Liriano. Talked about Quintana's struggles in June. No wins since May 31st. He is 6-6 now on the year. His career record also equals 500. Liriano 3-4 for the Tigers. He has also had quite a drought in wins. He has not won a game since the end of April, although he has not been pitching consistently during that time either. He's made 7 starts with no wins in May and June combined. Cubs have tomorrow off. And they have 3 this weekend with Cincinnati at Wrigley Field. Believe it's their first series this season at Wrigley after 3 sets in Cincinnati. Interesting scheduling. Reds a much improved team even from the beginning of the year. They started 3-15. They got rid of manager Brian Price, and his pitching coach Jim Riggleman comes in and has done a pretty good job. Reds have been 500 in almost 70 games with Riggleman at the helm. I've always been a fan of his, root for him, except when he is facing the Cubs. Reds have taken 6 of 9 against the Cubs so far this year, 1 in early April. Cubs won 3 of 4 in May, and then the Reds with a 4-game sweep of the Cubs a couple of weeks ago. All 3 games with the Reds this weekend will begin at 2:20 Eastern, then 3 in San Francisco starting Monday night, followed by 3 in San Diego, and then it's time for the All-Star break. And a quick recap of fan voting, which ends tomorrow night, 11:59 Eastern. Javi Baez with a monstrous year, but he's 3rd in fan voting at second base in the National League. Wilson Contreras is 2nd. Rizzo and Bryant are also in second place in their respective positions. Addison Russell 3rd at shortstop. And you got to think John Lester is going to make the National League squad with 11 wins at the halfway point of the season. Follow us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. Bricks Bleachers on both. iHeartRadio is one way to listen and subscribe to the show. Look for us wherever you get your podcasts. Tell your fellow Cubs fans to check us out too. This is the Bricks and Bleachers podcast.